Hello grade 11s. Welcome to the second of 2 lessons on molecular shape. Let's continue with Nelly and the VSEPR model.
In the previous lesson, we only looked at examples where the electron pairs arranged around the central atom were bonding pairs. The bonds formed were also all single bonds. In this lesson, we will use the VSEPR model to predict the shape of molecules where lone pairs and multiple bonds occur. Let's begin this lesson by looking at ammonia. Remember that ammonia has a chemical formula of NH3. Can you draw the Lewis diagram of ammonia? Well, to start with, nitrogen is in group 5 and so has 5 electrons in its valence shell. The nitrogen forms single covalent bonds with each of the 3 hydrogen atoms, so there are 8 electrons in the valence shell of nitrogen. You can clearly see that these form 4 electron pairs, 3 bond pairs, and 1 lone pair. If you apply what we know about the VSEPR model to 4 electron pairs, you would predict that the basic molecular shape is a tetrahedral, just like methane, CH4. However, in the ammonia molecule, the repulsion between electron pairs is not equal. Let's see why. In the nitrogen-hydrogen bond pair, there are 2 nuclei present. The electrostatic forces keep the shared electrons confined within the region between the nuclei in a sigma bond. The 2 electrons in the lone pair are quite loosely held and so occupy a larger region of space than the bond pair. In the bond pair region, the hydrogen nucleus provides a positive charge, but there is no positive charge in the lone pair region. So the lone pair region is much more negative than the bond pair region. Notice that in the ammonia molecule, there are 2 types of repulsion forces to consider: bond pair repulsion, and lone pair bond pair repulsion. Can you predict which will be greater? Well, since the negative charge on the lone pair is greater and the electrons in this region take up more space, I think you will agree that lone pair bond pair repulsion is greater than bond pair repulsion. So what effect does this have on the overall shape of the ammonia molecule? Well, the greater lone pair bond pair repulsion force forces the bonding pairs together slightly. This reduces the bond angle between the HNH found in a tetrahedral from 109,5 degrees to 107 degrees. When describing the shape of a molecule which has a lone pair, you only take notice of the atoms. So, even though the electron pairs are arranged in a shape very close to a tetrahedral shape, the molecule's shape is said to be pyramidal because of the way the atoms are arranged, with the hydrogen atoms at the base and the nitrogen at the top. Now we know the shape of the molecule, but we also need to know if the molecule is polar or non-polar. To find this out, we need to know how the electrons are shared between the hydrogen and the nitrogen. Do you remember how to work this out? Well, we find the electronegativity number difference. Nitrogen has an electronegativity number of 3,0 and hydrogen has an electronegativity number of 2,1. This tells us that nitrogen pulls the bond pair closer to itself. The top of the pyramidal shape becomes more negatively charged, and the base where the hydrogen atoms are becomes positively charged. So the ammonia molecule has a positive end and a negative end, and so is called a dipole or a polar molecule. Now that we have seen one example of how the VSEPR model is used when there is one lone pair in a molecule, we need to recognize that you could also get lone pair repulsion in molecules where there is more than one lone pair present. So far, we have established that lone pair bond repulsion is greater than bond pair repulsion. Can you predict how two or more lone pairs would repel each other? Here's a hint to help you. Remember, lone pairs are more negatively charged than bond pairs, and lone pairs take up more space than bond pairs. I'm sure you'll agree that you expect lone pair repulsion to be greater than lone pair repulsion, which is greater than bond pair repulsion. This means that the lone pairs will push each other apart and force the bond pairs closer together. Now let's see if we can apply these ideas to a very special molecule, water. Can you use the VSEPR model to determine the shape of a water molecule? Well, remember, you always start by drawing the Lewis diagram of the molecule. In water, oxygen is the central atom. It has 6 valence electrons. There are 2 unpaired electrons here. These share an electron with 2 different hydrogen atoms to form 2 single sigma bonds. Notice the Lewis diagram can be drawn in 2 ways, with the oxygen-hydrogen bonds in a linear arrangement or at right angles. But is either of these 2 shapes correct? Well, let's apply the VSEPR model now. From the Lewis diagrams, it is clear that we have 4 pairs of electrons in the valence shell of the oxygen atom, 2 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs. Now remember, when there are 4 electron pairs, the basic arrangement is tetrahedral. But in this molecule, we have 2 lone pairs that repel each other strongly. The VSEPR model predicts that the angle between the lone pairs will be greater than 109.5 degrees found in the tetrahedral. But because this lone pair angle increases, the bond pairs are pushed closer together. The VSEPR model predicts that the hydrogen-oxygen-hydrogen angle will be less than 109.5 but greater than 90 degrees. Clearly, using the VSEPR model has given us a much better idea of the shape of the water molecule than we got from the Lewis diagram. When we describe the shape of the water molecule, we only consider the atoms and ignore the lone pairs. This shape is described as bent or V-shaped. The electron distribution is also not even over this shape. The hydrogen-oxygen bond is polar covalent, so the hydrogen end is positively charged and the oxygen end is negatively charged. So water is a polar molecule. In both ammonia and water, we have had only single covalent bonds. Now let's see how we can predict the shape of molecules with multiple bonds. Here are 2 simple examples to consider. Carbon dioxide, CO2, and sulfur dioxide, SO2. Do you think these molecules have the same shape? Well, let's see if we can apply the VSEPR model to make a prediction. Here is the Lewis diagram of carbon and oxygen. Carbon has 4 valence electrons and so needs to form 4 bonds by sharing electrons with oxygen. This will give oxygen 8 electrons or 4 pairs of bonding electrons in the valence shell. Previously, we noted that 4 pairs of electrons can be arranged in a tetrahedral. But in this case, each oxygen atom needs to form a double bond with the carbon atom. a double bond requires 2 bond pairs. Remember, there is 1 sigma and 1 pi bond in a double bond. These bonds are arranged in the same direction, so we can treat a multiple bond as a single unit. Can you see how to arrange 2 of these double bond units around the carbon atom so they are as far apart from each other as possible? Remember that to arrange 2 things in space as far away from each other as possible is easy. The molecular shape is linear. But how are electrons distributed? Well, the electronegativity number difference between carbon and oxygen is 1,0. So the carbon-oxygen bond is polar covalent. But overall, because the molecule has a symmetrical shape, 2 oppositely charged ends do not form. We can say that the carbon dioxide molecule is non-polar. The intermolecular forces between the molecules are very weak, and this is why carbon dioxide sublimes from its solid form of dry ice. What about sulfur dioxide? Is it also linear and nonpolar? Sulfur has 6 valence electrons. Each oxygen atom needs to form 2 bonds. So there are a total of 10 electrons around the sulfur atom. 4 pairs are needed for forming the 2 double bonds. We treat these double bond pairs as a single unit. We also have 1 lone pair left over. So there are 2 double bond units and 1 lone pair, which must be arranged as far apart as possible. Can you suggest what shape this molecule will be? Well, the arrangement of electron pairs is trigonal planar, of course. But remember, the molecular shape only looks at the atoms. So the sulfur dioxide molecule is bent or V-shaped. The sulfur-oxygen bonds are polar covalent, and because the shape of the molecule is not symmetrical, the ends of the molecule develop opposite charges. This means that sulfur dioxide is a polar molecule. Polar molecules dissolve very easily in polar solvents. So sulfur dioxide will dissolve easily in water to form acid rain.
Thank you again, Nelly. And that's it for today. Check out the other videos in this series and remember the task video. Also visit the Mindset website at www.mindset.co.za/learn. Goodbye.